Alright, what's good everyone? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about which Samsung flagship you should buy from their whole lineup of phones. I don't have every single phone. I don't have the Z Flip 7, but I do have the Z Fold 7 and I have a Flip 6 and a Fold 6. So I'm going to be talking about all the models across the board, and I will fill in with B-roll where I do have some that I don't have right now. Anyways, so let's get into it. When looking at Samsung's products, you have the flip phones with the exterior small screen compact phone that just fits easily into your pocket. You have the base model S phones, the S25 and S25 Plus. This is a Plus. It's a little bit bigger. And these phones are really slim. They're light. They are pretty good deals for what you get. And then you have the Ultras. The S25 Ultra is, the best of Samsung's offering in terms of everything. Like the anti-reflective glass, high resolution screen, the hardest and toughest glass on any of their phones. You have the S Pen built in for quick note taking and photo editing and stuff like that. You got a 50 megapixel ultra wide camera, 50 megapixel zoom camera, the 200 megapixel main camera, and then I think it's around like 10 megapixels 3x camera. So like you have all the focal lengths covered basically with this phone. It's a really versatile camera phone, and then also just a premium flagship phone. The Z Fold 6 is a premium foldable phone. It is going to be your book foldable that opens up to be a mini tablet in your hand, and it's still, even in 2025, a really good option, which is why it's in this video. And it doesn't have the best cameras, but it does have a pretty good main camera, with the other two being decent, the ultra wide and the 3x zoom. But you're not buying a foldable phone necessarily for its camera, you're buying it for its versatility. So it has its hinge to do different things with the hinge, and then it has the exterior screen for ease of use. And if you're like me, you actually appreciate the slimmer size of the exterior screen on this phone. Like, it's very one-handable, very easy to use, easy to slip in and out of pockets. It is heavier than everything else in the lineup. This comes in at 240 grams. Whereas the new Z Fold 7 comes in at 215 grams, which is lighter than the S25 Ultra. So yeah, a bit heavier, but super versatile, and it has S Pen support. So you can get yourself one of these styluses and actually use it for professional work, signing documents, etc. on the big screen. And if you get the S Pen Pro, you have Bluetooth capabilities for gestures like lowering or raising the volume, skipping the song, playing the song, taking a photo by pressing the button, starting recording by pressing the button as well. Just a lot of flexibility with this device, even though it is last year's Z Fold. And then you have this year's Z Fold, which is a really amazing technological feat. I mean, the other Chinese foldables, if you heard about them, the Huawei's, the Vivos, the Honor Magics, those phones have been around the slimness for a long time, and the weight. But the Z Fold 7 comes in at the slimmest foldable phone available on the market, even amongst the Chinese phones, and it is the lightest. And look at just how thin it is compared to Samsung's Ultra phone, compared to their slimmer S25. It's still pretty comparable, and then also compared to the last year model, it's a pretty big jump in terms of the slimness. So all the benefits of the Z Fold 6 you're getting with the Z Fold 7. Bigger exterior screen, which means that you have a more normal aspect ratio compared to, the other regular phones that Samsung has. And I know in this video, it might look small, way smaller than those, but it's actually about the size of the base model S25, which is pretty good. You do have your hinge, so you can do different things like using the hinge as a kickstand for videos and photos, hands-free. You can watch videos with it standing up like this, and just a lot more. So very versatile devices in the folds. However, there are some things that are not good about these phones. So with the Z Flips, battery life is not going to be the best, but the battery life is actually better on the Z Flips than the Z Folds. So it's going to be pretty decent, actually. It's going to be somewhat close to the S25 base model in terms of battery life. And it depends on who you are, obviously. Some people might have longer battery life. So for these folding phones, just expect a little bit less than what you would normally get from a flagship. So that is the caveat for foldable phones. And then the cameras, the Z Flip only has 2 cameras as opposed to 3 on all of Samsung's other flagship phones. However, the Z Flip 6 was given a better 50 megapixel camera. It's comparable to now the Z Folds and the S25 base models with the main camera. Ultra wide is also decent. And then the Z Flip 7 also just gets a little bit better with this similar camera specs, but then, obviously the image processing and stuff like that, the ISP is going to be a little bit better with the next generation. So you get pretty good cameras actually. And then all the benefits I talked about using the hinge, the Z Flips can do that as well. You can use this exterior screen as a viewfinder, perfect for vlogging, for sitting it down and framing a shot, whether you're at work or something like that. You can angle it like this as well. Very versatile devices when it comes to using the camera, even though the camera specs or the fact that you don't have a zoom camera is something that you got to think about. And then for these phones, the S25 Plus and the S25, there's not really too many cons about them. Like I think the 25 is probably one of the most complete phones on the market. It is a big screen, higher resolution screen. Even though the battery size is only 4,900 milliamps, which is slightly smaller than the 5,000 in the S25 Ultra, it still is really good battery life because of the efficiency of the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. And then the cameras are not going to be the best in class. Like they're not going to be amazing cameras, but I think they're still going to be really good and on par with the base models of the other, phone brands like the Pixels, the iPhones, the base model phones. This is pretty comparable to those. So, and then all the features Samsung has in terms of like your camera features, like just being able to shoot with the back camera and the front camera at the same time, or just any two cameras at the same time in general in one video file is nice. You can shoot log video. There's a lot of features in this as well. Samsung software just goes as deep. And I'm sure if you're looking at one of these devices, you already know what Samsung software offers. So you get that in such a very slim package. Like if you look at the 25 versus the Ultra, 25 is actually significantly slimmer than the Ultra. And like they released the S25 Edge, which I'll talk a little bit about, which is slimmer than this, but this is actually still pretty close to that slimness. It actually kind of makes the S25 Edge look like why buy that over this? This is like a pretty amazing buy, to be honest, for what you get. And then the smaller version is just the same thing, but a little bit smaller, and it's going to have a smaller battery, so not as good battery life. Now the S25 Edge, I will show clips of it because I don't have it right now. But when I did have it, it was actually a really good phone. Basically like the other S25 phones, a really, really good phone. It has good performance. The weight was amazing. It was the same weight as the smaller S25 phone, but a big screen like the S25 Plus and the S25 Ultra. The battery life wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad at all either. It can still get you through a day. It has a titanium frame, which I think is really good. Peace of mind. Only the S25 Ultra is the other phone that has a titanium frame, which makes it more durable. Has a little bit more stronger glass than the other S25s. And overall, you're buying that phone just for the slimness. It only has two cameras, but it does have the 200 megapixel camera from the S25 Ultra, which for some people, that is kind of a benefit, to be honest. Like if you are somebody who mainly shoots in 1x or 2x, even up to 3x, then having that main camera is a low-key better than having the 50 megapixel camera from the other phones. So the S25 Edge, although it looks like it's kind of a throttled down flagship on paper, is actually a really good phone in its own way. And I think if you can get it for less than the retail price, it's a good cop. I honestly think it's a great phone and I like it in this lineup. I feel like it might even be a phone that I would pick up more often than some of the other phones, just because of how light it is and how easy it is to just use that camera because of the lightweight and the thinness. Like I forget about that phone in my pocket. So that's what the S25 Edge offers. The con is that it has a smaller battery than the other ones. It doesn't have the 3x camera, but honestly, the 3x camera on all of these phones that do have it is not that good anyways. The S25 Ultra's 3x camera is a little bit better than the other ones, but even that one is not amazing. So you're not really missing out on much when you get a two camera phone from Samsung like S25 Edge, which has really good main camera that crops in at 3x and is still pretty good quality anyways. And even the Z Flip that doesn't have a zoom camera, you're not really missing out on too much, in my opinion. So if you want zoom, go for the Ultra. The other phones, they're going to have zoom capabilities, but it's not going to be that great anyways. So zoom people, go for the Ultra. That's it. And now the Ultra, the main con for the Ultra is that it's kind of heavy. It's actually a heavier flagship phone. It's thicker than all the other phones, all the other normal phones. And I mean, that's about it. Like, I don't think there's really that much of a con to this phone. Like, it's actually a really amazing phone. Probably, in my opinion, the best all-arounder phone in 2025. I think this is, like, if you just want a phone that just works, does everything, has great cameras at all focal lengths, has decently fast charging, like it has 45-watt charging, which is not the fastest. The only other phone in Samsung's lineup that has that is the S25 Plus. All the other phones are at 25 watts. So for Samsung specs, it has the fastest charging, it has the best screen, it has the S Pen, the best cameras, the strongest build quality. Like, go look up the S25 Ultra drop test. Like, the screen is actually ridiculous when it comes to survivability. So yeah, I mean, when you're buying this phone, you're buying a very versatile tank that can do like basically anything really that you ask of it. Like, it's just, there's not too many cons to this other than that it's heavier than the rest of the phones. And maybe the boxy edges might be a little bit uncomfortable. The other ones are kind of rounded, but the boxiness of the S25 Ultra, you might not like that. But most people put a case on their phone anyway, so maybe that doesn't even matter. The main con of the Z Folds, like I said earlier, was the battery life. For the Fold 6, it's going to be the weight for sure, 240 grams. Personally, I don't think the thickness of this is a con at all, really, because of how slim it is. Like, it's, even though it's thick, it's still easy to grip. Like, look at how it fits around my hand. Even for people with smaller hands, I think you might even enjoy typing on the screen. It's kind of like an iPhone 13 mini, but just longer. The only con really in my opinion is the weight, and then obviously the cameras are not the greatest. The con for the Fold 7 is, honestly, this is one of those phones again where I feel like there's not that many cons. I think the main con is that the other cameras outside of the main camera are not that good. The battery life is not going to be amazing. And that's really it. Like the Fold 7 is just a really, really good phone, 2-in-1 phone that can do a lot. Really big inside screen. It's versatile. It's fast. It's smooth. Oh, and also the performance. If you are somebody who was a heavy gamer, stay away from the foldable phones, even the flips. They're just not built for that. If you want gaming, then go for the other S25s. Yeah, but outside of that, the Fold is just amazing, man. Look at how thin and slim this is, easy to hold. Even though the screen is bigger, it's still pretty one-handable because it's not like the full wideness of an Ultra phone. And the main camera being upgraded to the 200 megapixel camera of the S25 Ultra is just also another boost. I do think that, like, if anything, I would have been fine with the 50 megapixel camera from the Z Fold 6 if they upgraded the zoom and the ultra wide cameras to the 50 megapixel from the Ultra phone. But at this point, you're taking any camera upgrades you get. Now, this is the best camera on any foldable phone, in my opinion. We'll have to see what the other companies offer later in the year, but this is looking like the best. And then you have the hinge and all that stuff. There's really not too many cons with this. You might think it's fragile because of how thin it is, but trust me, it's not. Go check out J-Rig Everything. He does durability tests for all these phones. He bent this phone backwards the opposite way, like really hard, like put all his might into it. He destroyed every other foldable phone from other brands, by the way. And this phone did not break at all. It definitely flexed, it bent, but it did not break. The screen was still working. He was still able to close it shut 100%, had no issues with the phone functioning. So this is a very durable phone. The hinge was upgraded with titanium. The inside screen is upgraded. I know this is broken, but watch this video to find out why. And yeah, you're not going to really have too many issues with this phone. I guess one of the main cons that I forgot to mention with these foldable phones, the flips and the folds, is that they do not have dust resistance. So if you're somebody who works in a dusty environment, then you probably might want to avoid these. And if you like to go to the beach pretty often, then you also might want to avoid them. But in my experience, I took my folds, my flips to the beach, to dusty places, and I had no issues with them. Like, you never know, like this, it's obviously going to be a risk with these phones because the dust can get in the hinge and maybe under the screen and cause the screen to break. But at this point, you know, 7 generations in, Samsung has engineered them to the point where, like, they're not dust resistant, but like they're low-key kind of dust resistant to an extent. They have some measures in place to kind of get things out of the hinge. It's definitely a risk if you work in those environments and you're in those environments frequently, but the durability is no joke for these phones. So that is just something you got to think about when it comes to them. So the last thing I will do in this video is I'm going to show you camera samples from all these phones. Basically, you decide which one you think is the best. that's basically it for this video. I just gave you a quick rundown of all of Samsung's current lineup and 2 phones from last year, because I think they're still pretty relevant for people who want to get into foldable phones. They're still really good phones. And anything I said about the other phones, the S25 Ultra, the S25 Plus, you can kind of apply it to the 24s, because those phones are still good to this day. The 25s are just going to be better in terms of performance, like a big leap in terms of performance for gaming and stuff like that. Battery is going to be fairly similar, but a little bit better. Build quality is going to be better on the newer devices. The slimness is going to be better on the S25s. You can basically apply a lot of it to the S24s if you're considering those, but mainly just the current lineup with the Z Fold 6 and the Z Flip 6, because I think they're relevant now. But yeah, that's all for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for the next video. Make sure you subscribe because a lot more on the way. We out. Peace.